situation?
It's contained. We should have it out soon.
All right, sounds good.
Everything okay?
Yes, ma'am. We got everything under control.
Are you a superhero?
Your mom's the superhero, son. What she's doing makes my job a whole lot easier and helps me get home to my family.
Wildfires burn more than just trees. Do your part to protect your property, your community, and those who risk their lives for you. Learn what you can do to prepare for a wildfire. Go to fireadapted.org or contact your local fire department. You too can be a superhero. Lives depend on it.
Welcome to Cochise Talk. I'm Chuck Alton, your host today, and here we are at the Convention Center in beautiful downtown, historic Old Bisbee, Arizona, where we come from time to time to interview and talk with and get to know better people here in Bisbee and throughout Cochise County who have something to talk about. They're newsmakers, they're people who have interesting projects. In this segment, we're going to talk about the prevention of fires here in Bisbee. In 1908, there was a huge fire here in Bisbee that, for all intents and purposes, burnt the town down. Well, I've got a couple of people here with me today who have seen fires more recently than that here, not nearly as difficult as that one was, and they spent much of their time wondering, well, how bad could this get? And so they started an organization called Old Bisbee Firewise. I have Al and Ann Anderson here to talk with them about that and what we're doing to make Bisbee Firewise a safer place to live. But first, before that, let's celebrate shopping locally right here on Cochise Talk TV.
Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, take it easy with a mouth-watering entree from Pace Avenue Takeout. Why shop, cook, and clean up when for $9 Chef Ginger does it all? Look, it's big portions of the perfectly prepared comfort food you love. Check out our menu at PaceAvenueTakeout.com and take it easy.
Welcome back. I'm Chuck Alton on Cochise Talk, and we're once again here at the Convention Center in beautiful Bisbee. It's wintertime here, and we're expecting some rain tonight. We're in February. It gets a little chilly. We've had temperatures in the teens from time to time, but that only lasts for a little while. We've got some of the best weather in the world here, but we also, like the rest of the world, we have fires, just like you find any place else. In 1908, as I mentioned before, there was a serious fire here, and we've got pictures that we're showing to you right now. And I have with me Al and Ann Anderson, who started an organization called Old Bisbee Firewise. And I want to welcome the two of them. Obviously, this is Al and this is Ann. And they're two wonderful, wonderful people who are going to tell us about Old Bisbee Firewise. Tell us, Al, what gave you all the idea to do this?
Well, there's Bisbee's surrounded with forest and wildlands. It's called the Wildlands Urban Interface, and the neighborhood that Ann and I live in has that. We've got a lot of forest, oak woodlands right up to the back of all the houses along our street. So we've been worrying about that burning for many, many, many years, and we knew that it was just a matter of time, not if, but when. And so we circulated a petition and wrote up a petition and to get our neighbors to sign it, and we were going to send that petition to the landowner, which mostly is Bureau of Land Management, public lands. And then we were coincidentally connected to a lady who works at the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management. And she says, "That's great what you're doing, Al and Ann, but you need to do more. We need to include the whole city, not just your little neighborhood there." So it's kind of grown since then to what it is now.
Well, let me ask you, Ann, and by the way, the sounds you're hearing, this is a populated place where lots of commerce takes place, and we're right next to the Bisbee Coffee Company, and you're hearing caffeinated delights being prepared over there. And what has been the response from the community in terms of this project?
It's been a fabulous response. So many people have not just heard the story of the fire in 1908, but catastrophic fires throughout Bisbee's history. There have been fires in which people have died, whether it's been on High Road or elsewhere. People have lost their lives to fire in this city. And of course, last year in 2017, so I guess it's 2 years ago now, we lost our city hall to fire. And we have long, tinder-dry grasses around here, and we have, as Al mentioned, a lot of forest coming right up to the backs of houses. And we have houses that are adjoined to one another. So if I clean up my property and get rid of the clutter that could catch an ember and become a nesting spot for an ember from a fire in the forest nearby, even if my property is cleaned up, my neighbor's property, which may be attached to mine in some way, that's not cleaned up, and we're fortunate we've got neighbors who are on the ball and doing something, but many people in Bisbee realize how interconnected we are, and so if a neighbor does not clean up their property and still has the potential for ember nesting places, all of us are worse off. So that's why it's really important that everyone be involved, and people get that around here. Yes. Sorry for such a long-winded answer.
That's okay. No, it was a good question and a good answer. Al, what are the sorts of things that, there's a list of things that you ask people to do around the outside of their home. And what are a few of those things?
Well, let me start first by explaining what Old Bisbee Firewise, who we are. Okay, so we're all volunteers. We're not incorporated. We're not a 501c3. We started out, we have about 130 members right now. Now, Firewise USA is a national organization that communities join. And there's 1,500 Firewise USA communities in the United States, and Bisbee is the 100th in Arizona.
I see. I didn't know it was that extensive.
Yeah, and it's basically run by the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA. NFPA are the people who write all our safety and health and safety codes in the United States, and to a great degree, the world.
So this isn't something that you just woke up one morning and decided to do, that you made up?
No, we were lucky that there's already this organization in place. So basically we joined it, and we created the Old Bisbee Firewise community, which is one of, like I said, 100 in Arizona.
Why not the other two wards, Warren and San Jose?
Well, it grew from our neighborhood, our street basically, to Old Bisbee.
Is it the kind of thing that the other wards could use?
They certainly can. We'd like to do the whole world. But it's just a matter of, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of people. And if the other boroughs want to create their own Firewises, I'll help them out, answer questions, whatever it takes. But I think every community needs to do that. It's a new catchphrase now, fire-adapted communities, right, Em?
Yes, but I wanted to say we welcome members from the other wards. We are going to have a children's program, which I think is going to incorporate children from a lot of the other areas of town. But the critical piece of joining Firewise USA is that it allows us access to certain grants and certain educational opportunities, and those will help our community as a whole. But in order to have that access, we have to track intensively our members' risk reduction efforts. And so it's a lot of intensive computer work. Al's been doing all of the data entry, and a lot of intensive education quite frankly. And so that's why Al's saying, yes, we want the whole world to join. We don't want to do data entry for the whole world, but we welcome.
You certainly welcome phone calls and questions.
Encourage anyone to
Yes.
join from all over Bisbee. And the other thing I wanted to jump on that Al said, piggyback on, is that Step Up Bisbee NACO is a very close partner with Old Bisbee Firewise, and Step Up Bisbee NACO is
Grady Meadows.
Grady Meadows. They are a 501c3. They're doing fabulous work in the community. We've been a part of the organization for a while, but they have really rolled up their sleeves and started addressing properties that are not as Firewise as they should be, that are low-income properties. And so we encourage people, if they want to make a donation to this effort, that they make a donation to Step Up Bisbee NACO for the Firewise effort.
And it would be tax deductible.
Tax deductible, right.
Now listen, I'm going to go outside and look around the yard and look for things that maybe I wasn't aware of before that need to be taken care of. Tell me about that.
Well, you don't have to, because we have about 30 people that we trained. They're certified fire risk assessors, and it was a day-and-a-half class put on by the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management, and they're trained in fire behavior and fire prevention and risk reduction measures. So fire behavior is really important thing to know. So we have to back away from your particular yard and think about the bigger picture.
Gotcha.
Kind of the 30,000 foot elevation picture.
So is somebody going to come knocking on my door and saying we'd like to take a look around?
If you want them to. Now you can go onto our website that we'll talk about, but you can request an assessor come on your property, and they will tell you what the risks are on your property. And you can do whatever you want with those risks. You can live with them, or you can try to mitigate them. But there are, Chuck, there's literally hundreds of things that you just don't think about. I never thought about.
Hundreds of things.
Hundreds of things that you could do to mitigate your risk of fire. Now, fire
That are
spreads.
easy things and inexpensive things.
So fire moves like through the hills around Bisbee. We have grasslands, mostly grasslands, but a lot of trees. So fire will typically move through that habitat at about a speed of about 8 miles an hour. Now you can't outrun that.
That's right.
Okay. And then once, and people think that fires, like the devastating fires in California, for instance, is a tsunami of flames that come through a community and they start burning one house at a time. Well, that's not really, that's one of the ways that fire spreads. Mostly fires spread when there's a big fire, whether it's out in the forest, outside of town, or a house in town. Embers, little sparks, firebrands get kicked up into the air. They can travel miles and land. And if they land in a nice little cozy nest of, like, say, pine needles or dead leaves on your roof or in your rain gutter or around your house or on your deck, or say you have lawn furniture on your outside deck and your deck's made of wood, those little firebrands are going to land in there and they start little spot fires. So there's this tsunami of flames are coming towards you, right, or your community. But these little firebrands are way out ahead, and they're dropping down all over the place and causing all these little spot fires all over the place. And the spot fires build and spread very rapidly. So in no time at all, an entire community is aflame. Now the people that are trying to get away from the fire, they know what direction the fire is coming from, but then bam, they run right into another fire and another fire. And that's what happened in California. That's why there were so many deaths. There was no place to go because fires were burning for miles all over.
I want to do more of this, and we've got a 20-minute lock on what we can do as far as our equipment is concerned. So no, not at all. I want to take a short break. I wish I had a public service announcement already made for you, but my commitment is to create a public service announcement.
Members stop embers.
Okay, so we'll talk more about that, but let's celebrate what it means to shop locally here on Cochise TV, and I'll be back in just a minute with Al and Ann Anderson, and we're going to talk a bit more about Old Bisbee Firewise. But first, this.
Look, wall-to-wall guitars. Brian Burtwell's private collection of Gibsons, Fenders, and Ibanez. Over 50 new and used electric and acoustic accessories, too. Every guitar professionally set up. Shop local and play before you pay. Bisbee Computers and Music, 432-9090, 432-9090 in San Jose.
Thanks for staying with us, and we hope you will shop local every opportunity you can. And that's a reminder from us here at Cochise Talk TV. I'm here with Al and Ann Anderson, who are the founders of the local chapter, if you will, of Old Bisbee Firewise. And we're going to put you in touch with them. They have a website, and that's the next step for you, is to visit their website and see what's happening. What would you like to add in terms of, this is a community project. It only works if everybody's doing it, right?
Right, absolutely. It's a community project. It has to be a community project for us to have access to grants that our fire department and our infrastructure as a whole community desperately needs. And so, for example, we have problems with our hydrant system, problems with our reservoir, problems that need grants in order to be fixed. And so a big part of our effort is to get as many people involved as possible so that we can show the grant makers, look, we are working as a team here, everybody's on board, and everyone's doing their little bit, and we need your help to partner with us.
So the project really is a lot about raising awareness, and I didn't understand this before, but the local fire department can really benefit from your efforts.
Our local fire department is amazing.
Which everyone
it's
loves.
Wonderful, everyone loves it, but they need our help. We don't want them to die in a fire that is preventable, and so we're talking about ways of preventing a fire on property-specific ways of preventing fires, but also ways that we can raise money so that our fire department has, for example, the proper equipment to use and the proper gear to wear.
Yes.
They need turnout gear for a structural
stuff.
fire, very expensive. When it's worn once, it gets polluted. They can't wear that home and wear it the next day. They have to have an alternate thing to wear, and right now we don't have alternates. So for example, we need a structural uniform, a wildlands uniform. It's all different. They weigh different weights and they have different bells and whistles on them, but they will protect our firefighters' lives, and they're very important to us. So the main thrust of what we're doing is to say to people, we can't rely on our fire department, just call 911 and it's done. We have to help them. We have to help them both through grant writing and through participation and just making sensible moves on our own properties.
Well, this is an amazing project, particularly given that the local fire department, which this community really supports its fire department, will benefit from it, especially if everyone gets behind this effort. That Step Up Bisbee NACO is also involved with, which is a plus because they do amazing work. Al, I've had the website name on the bottom of the screen the entire time.
Great.
Tell us what sorts of things people will see when they go to the website.
Well, they'll see all the paperwork. So to be a Old Bisbee Firewise member, you have to agree to do 1 hour of sweat equity for fuels reduction on your own property a year. And so they'll see that report. And then you have to report that. So when you go out and weed eat or mow the lawn or remove leaves or whatever needs to occur on your property to make it more fire resistant, you have to record that, fill out a form, send the form to us. I will input that data, and then we become a stronger advocate group for fuels reduction and the fuels fire awareness in our community. Like Ann says, then we can go after grants. We've already written quite a few grants to, not for us, but for people who can't afford to do these things on their homes, you know, replace the roof or whatever. Our fire department is woefully under-equipped.
There's a whole web of benefits.
You know, there's so much to talk about, Chuck.
Right.
We can't do it on this program,
Well,
but if you go to our website, you can get involved.
And I want to clarify one thing, because I actually had someone call me one time, Ann and Al, and they said, I don't know what to think about this old Bisbee Firewise, because I don't want them coming into my house and telling me what to do.
We've heard that.
Have you really?
Yeah.
So assure us that this is not an invasive process.
We are not the fire Gestapo that's going to come in and cut down your trees.
And there's no fine, there's no penalty for not doing enough. We're just
it's all
asking people to
volunteer.
do a little bit, volunteer to do a little bit. And
But this is fire science, and in the recent fires in California have proven that people that have done Firewise prescription measures on their property, those houses have survived. There are houses that are in an island of devastation. Whole communities have burned down. In particular, little houses that have done these correct things are intact. They didn't burn down. So we know it works. The National Fire Protection Association has been around since the late 1800s. So it's all scientific based. We just want to apply those principles here to Bisbee so that we can survive fires.
So we're not, go ahead, Ann.
sorry, I just wanted to add one thing. The other piece in all of this is that a lot of Bisbee residents are hearing now from insurers that are saying, because of the wildfires in California costing us billions of dollars over the past couple years, we are not going to insure you anymore, or your rates are going to be jacked up so high that you won't be able to afford insurance anymore. And so that's another reason why we're trying to wake people up to the importance of becoming Firewise.
Do insurance companies look at these efforts and pay any consideration for that?
They do. They actually will send people out. People have already heard from their insurance companies sending people out to take photos of, you know, is there, you know, brush and the cane grass, the bamboo stuff, is that, you know, flooding their backyard? Is this a neighbor's problem that's going to affect your property? These are coming up all the time. We're hearing from people all the time.
Since we started this, Chuck, I can't tell you how many people have contacted me and said that just within the last 2 years, since these devastating California fires, the insurance industry has taken almost a $30 billion hit in the last 2 years in California. They cannot sustain those losses. So they're looking at everybody all across the nation
to share the risk.
To share that risk. And so they've come to Bisbee. There's people that have said that I tried to get renewed and my insurer would not renew me. My premiums just doubled overnight. So the insurance industry we can have a whole program about the insurance risk. So
we will. This is not to alarm people, but to prepare you and all of us in our community for the eventuality of fires. I've been here 9 years. I've seen several myself already, and it takes firefighting organizations, not just ours, but from all around the area, to come and help get these things out as quickly as possible. So the fact that you could very well save on insurance premiums, but the other thing that's important to keep into consideration is that if we have a fire and there's lots of damage, the insurance company may say, we're just not going to be able to be there for you because of what's going on in California and other places. We're very fortunate to live here in Bisbee, where we really don't have to worry about too many natural disasters. We're very fortunate in that regard. But fire is not something that any of us can escape, but it is something we can do to prepare for. And I want to thank Al and Ann Anderson for coming here and telling us more about your organization.
Thanks for getting the word out.
And we really want to encourage you to go to oldbisbeefirewise.org. The address is here, and we have a phone number here for you in case you want to give them a call and ask some questions. So I thank you both, Al and Ann, for being here with us today on Cochise Talk, and we'll be back with more news, views, and interviews from around Cochise County here on Cochise Talk TV. I'm Chuck Alton. Until next time.